The Wild West is a landscape steeped in myth, legend, and the larger-than-life personas of those who inhabited it. From gunslingers to lawmen and outlaws to pioneers, this tumultuous period in American history produced some of the most iconic figures to ever grace the pages of folklore. While their lives have been celebrated in countless tales and Hollywood movies, there is often less focus on the intriguing and sometimes tragic ways these historical figures met their demise. In this article, we delve into the real stories behind the deaths of 10 renowned Wild West personalities, shedding light on the untold chapters of their lives. Remember to hit the like button because it helps us a lot. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the notification bell to not miss the upcoming interesting video. Buffalo Bill Cody. Buffalo Bill Cody became a household name in the late 1800s, thanks to his famous Buffalo Bill's Wild West traveling show. Cody died from kidney failure while visiting his sister in Denver on January 10, 1917. The date is important because in Cody's most up-to-date will, he requested burial atop Lookout Mountain in Colorado, which had remarkable views. But the road up the mountain was impassable in January due to snow. To honor Cody's last request, the mortuary kept his body in cold storage for 6 months, which required embalming it 6 separate times. During this time, many people argued for him to be buried in Cody, Wyoming, the town he founded, and where he had wanted his burial spot according to a previous will. Ultimately, it's widely agreed Cody was indeed buried on Lookout Mountain, but conspiracies suggest his body was taken and moved to Wyoming. Ollinger's mortuary, where Cody's body sat for 6 months, is now a restaurant, Linger. Butch Cassidy. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid might bring to mind images of a young Paul Newman and Robert Redford. The real Butch and Sundance Kid's lives were just as storied as their characters. Walking away with an average haul of $35,000 per robbery, the Wild Bunch, as Cassidy's gang was known, was nearly impossible to catch, thanks to Cassidy's extensive planning before each heist. After decades of misdeeds, however, Butch and the Sundance Kid decided to give it all up and move to South America to start a new life. They kept a low profile until allegedly taking a payroll in Bolivia. The Bolivian cavalry surrounded the house the two were holed up in, and a shootout led to one of the men being injured, reportedly the Sundance Kid. That evening, 2 gunshots were heard, and the men's cadavers were recovered with bullet wounds to their heads. Sundance Kid between his eyes, and Cassidy with a self-inflicted shot to his temple. However, it's been hotly debated if these men were, in fact, the legendary duo. Many people reported seeing Cassidy for years afterward. Wild Bill Hickok. Wild Bill Hickok made a name for himself after his story of killing 3 men, who were trying to kill him, was published in a magazine. Wild Bill continued showing his gunslinging skills in a string of gunfights, but stopped after accidentally killing his deputy in a shootout. Wild Bill's star started to fade, and he eventually fell into hard times. He was just scraping by as a card player in Deadwood, South Dakota on one fateful August day. With his back to the saloon door, a young gunslinger named Jack McCall walked in and shot Wild Bill directly in the back of the head. He tried to fire at others, but all of his other bullets failed. At the time of his demise, Wild Bill was holding a pair of aces and eights, which since has been known as the dead man's hand. Jesse James. Jesse James was such a good thief that the governor of Missouri, Thomas Crittenden, made it his own vendetta to capture the outlaw. After a failed bank robbery, Jesse and his brother Frank were lying low. But Frank started enjoying the straight life, so he bowed out of Jesse's gang, forcing Jesse to find new members who lacked a sense of loyalty to him. Enter Bob Ford, whose brother, Charlie, had just joined Jesse. When Bob heard of Crittenden's new $10,000 bounty for Jesse James, he convinced his brother that they should plot against Jesse. The Ford brothers reached an agreement with Crittenden, who agreed to give them the money and a pardon. A few months later, the Ford brothers were with Jesse, moving into one of his houses. After getting hot, Jesse removed his coat, and also his pistols. Inside, Jesse stood on a chair to dust a picture, and Bob shot him in the back of the head. Doc Holliday. John Henry Doc Holliday was originally a dentist in Texas, but had a fondness for playing cards that led him down a different path. Becoming close with Wild West legends like Wyatt Earp, Holliday partook in his fair share of shootouts, card playing, and heavy drinking. The latter aggravated his pre-existing tuberculosis and led him to become sicker and sicker. Holliday finally checked himself into a sanitarium in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, to seek treatment for his increasingly worsening tuberculosis. In 1887, he died in his bed there at age 36. Billy the Kid. Billy the Kid really was just that, a kid. At 18 years old, he had already committed as many as 17 murders in his young life and was still on the run. A few years later, Sheriff Pat Garrett was finally able to capture Billy, taking him to stand trial where he was found guilty and sentenced to hang. But only a few days before his execution in 1881, Billy escaped, killing 2 guards in the process. Garrett hunted Billy for 3 months until he finally got a tip about his whereabouts. When Billy was out, Garrett snuck into his dark bedroom at the Maxwell Ranch in New Mexico and waited. When Billy entered the room, Garrett shot and killed him. Like the deaths of Wild West legends before him, Billy's inspired conspiracy theories. Was it really Billy? Or another young man who looked like the 21-year-old? Years later, 2 different men came out claiming to be Billy the Kid, but their stories could never be proven. Calamity Jane. Calamity Jane's name is a giveaway for how she lived her life. To make ends meet, she sometimes dressed as a man, working for the Pony Express, and perhaps worked as a soiled dove. A member of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, Jane became well known for her sharpshooting abilities on a horse's back. With her growing fame came a reputation for enjoying heavy drinking and having a good time. Ultimately, the whiskey caught up to her, and she suffered from severe alcoholism for several years until it led to her demise at age 51. According to legend, she was buried next to her friend and former drinking buddy, and alleged lover and unsubstantiated claim, Wild Bill Hickok, to unite them in eternity. Hickok was said to have had very little interest in Jane, making her burial one final prank played on behalf of the famed sharpshooter. Wyatt Earp. Lawman Wyatt Earp wasn't a household name in the 1800s. He didn't achieve wide fame until after his demise, when a biography about his wild adventures, including the shootout at the OK Corral, was published. Near the end of his life, after his gunslinging days in the West were behind him, Earp moved to Los Angeles. He acted as an unpaid consultant on the up-and-coming genre of westerns, becoming close with Western stars like William Hart and Tom Mix. Earp got so close to these actors that Hart and Mix were pallbearers at his funeral in 1929, with Mix reportedly weeping at the ceremony. Belle Starr. Belle Starr was likely more an associate of criminals than a hardened criminal herself. While she was convicted of horse thievery and served 9 months in jail, she was never again convicted of a crime. However, she surrounded herself with outlaws and questionable characters, including 2 husbands who died in gunfights. Her years of rubbing elbows with nefarious folks eventually caught up to her. On her way home one day, Starr was shot in the back twice. Her killer was never found. Rumors surrounded her demise, but in at least one version of the event, her own son, Ed, had a hand in the incident. Davy Crockett. Many know the name of Davy Crockett, the king of the wild frontier, but when asked what he's actually known for, you get a lot of different answers. He was a frontiersman, a U.S. congressman, and a storyteller. But most know him for his heroic last stand in 1836 at the Battle of the Alamo, where he took his last breath. How he took that last breath is hotly debated. The common story is that Crockett, along with 200 men, held off thousands of Mexican soldiers for 13 days until finally being overwhelmed. In this final fight, Crockett was killed defending the Alamo. Some historians, however, believe Crockett was one of 6 soldiers who surrendered in exchange for their lives, but the opposing side did not honor the agreement and executed them all. The Wild West's historical figures, often celebrated for their exploits and adventures, met a variety of fates that reflect the harsh realities of their time. These 10 individuals, each in their own way, contributed to the rich tapestry of the Old West and left indelible marks on American history. Examining how they actually met their end provides a deeper understanding of the challenges, dangers, and complexities of life in the Wild West. It reminds us that behind the legends and myths are real people whose stories continue to captivate and intrigue us to this day. Please like and share if you find the video content interesting and useful. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment below so as not to miss the upcoming interesting videos. Thanks for watching.